Hello everybody and welcome to my wildflower cover process tutorial video. For these covers you're going to want some lace, some cardstock, some solid colored fabric like this one here. I already stitched it to the cover. And then you're also going to want a variety of florals or any other pattern that you want to use. It doesn't have to be florals, it can be stripes or polka dots or something. I'm using florals. I have fabrics and trims. This cover here has been completed, except for the lining on the inside, but the collage that I'm going to be going over has been completed on this. And to prepare for this tutorial, I have several covers in various stages of the process. And also, when you're getting your lace, you're going to want some like bigger pieces like this. If you don't have them, small ones will work. You're just going to need to do a little bit extra stitching to get full coverage, and I'll explain to you what I mean in just a moment. I'm going to go over the various stages really quick. So the first stage is your solid fabric just stitched to the cardstock. And then next is you're going to do a full coverage of lace, just one layer of lace on the bottom. After that, you will arrange your pattern fabrics on top of it. And you can see I have this little piece set up right here because I want the lace to go down, on top of that solid, and then a floral on top of that. And then next you will start filling in the spaces with various pieces of your lace, and then you have the end result. The very first thing that you're going to do is cover your cardstock with your solid colored fabric, and I did not do that in this video. I've done it in so many other videos, and I think I even have it for free on my Instagram. So just run that through the sewing machine and get your very first layer all situated. The next step is a layer of lace, and you want full coverage. So this is why I'm saying it's good to have bigger pieces of lace. If you don't have bigger pieces, just work with what you have and just completely cover the solid with your lace. I don't want you to think too hard on this part. It's not super important. You just want a layer of lace. Like, don't really worry about design or where things should go. Just cover the entire front of your cover. You could do front and back if you want. I'm just doing the fronts, but cover the entire thing with lace. And again, don't think too hard on this. Just cover it up. I'm going to stitch the lace to the cover now, and I do this just by holding the lace in place with my fingers. I don't pin it or use glue or anything like that. And you will see here, as the cover moves through the sewing machine, the lace starts to get pushed. So every once in a while, I'm going to pause and straighten things up. I'll lift the foot and sort of adjust the lace and continue stitching. So go slowly, and if you have to pause to adjust, go ahead and do that. On my wildflower covers, I am going to be leaving some of this lace overhanging the side. I really want them to be to have a sort of like overgrown feel, but where the spine is, I am going to be trimming that off and making it just a nice, neat, straight line. If you don't want your lace to overhang on any of the edges, go ahead and trim all sides and yeah, just neaten them up however you like. You're going to see me here do just a little bit of trimming. But I do like that sort of like overgrown look that you'll see at the end. So next step in the process is arranging your floral fabrics on top of that layer of lace. This is just a quick tip here, but if you set a floral or otherwise patterned fabric on top of another one, you're going to want a small piece of lace to go behind it, and that will help with the collage and have everything sort of feel like it is blending together. So that's why I have this right here. To help talk about composition a little bit, I have this little faux journal cover right here. And you can see how I'm going to be dividing up the spaces. When you are placing down your focal points, don't use the center. Like, don't use the very, very center. It's kind of boring. Yeah, just try to avoid a focal point being in the absolute 100% center of the cover. So I'm going to be dividing this first into thirds horizontally. And then I'm going to divide it in half vertically. Next, I will be highlighting areas where a focal point would look good, where it would stand out. These are all going to be like off center. They can be various sizes. Yeah, just try to avoid that absolute center. And I'm going to show you some examples here of where my focal points are on my other journals. So now, using this little template as a guide, I'm going to begin to arrange different fabrics on my cover. Please keep in mind also throughout this tutorial that my instructions are just a guide. You should do what feels right for you. If you do want to put something right smack dab in the center of your journal, go ahead. This is just my process. This is how I prefer to do things, and don't let me stop you from doing what you want. I really like a raw edge, especially on these wildflower covers, so I'm just tearing and sort of straightening up the fray, pulling off any super loose pieces. This is a little floral piece of sari trim that I have, and I like to cut out the flowers like here and arrange them in different ways. And I also really like the sari because it's already on like a mesh sort of fabric, so it works really well for blending in with the other laces. So I'm going to start stitching now, and when you're stitching around a floral or something like this, you want to try and get your sewing needle to follow along the edge as much as you can of your little thing that you're showing or sewing. So this is just a little example of how I would sew around this. So you, it kind of just helps everything feel a little bit more seamless. So try to get as close to like the edges of your fabric or your floral, whatever you're sewing on there. I also am leaving some space between this floral and the edge of the journal so that I could fit in some more lace there to help with the blending. For instance, I might add something like this right here, just overlapping that flower just a little bit. So now I'm just going to continue stitching down the rest of the florals that I picked out, and after this we're going to start layering some lace on top of these florals. I'm going to be bringing in a not quite finished journal in the process, and you could see here where I've started to layer lace on top of the florals, and I like a sort of organic, there's no really, I try to cover up the straight lines as much as possible. So you could see here the straight line on these trims. I'm just going to go ahead and grab a piece of lace and cover that up. This is going to make the wildflower journals feel super organic, and everything is just going to flow together very nicely. Here I'm pointing out a couple corners and lines on my completed journal, just showing that you don't have to cover up every single one, but just try and get most of them covered up with some sort of lace. And I'm going to go over with you shortly how I do that on the journal that we're working on here together. Now I'm just going to be picking through my lace and choosing which ones I would like to work with. I think it's best to have a variety. If you only have like 3 to 4 different types of lace, you could still get a really, really beautiful result with this. I don't remember exactly how many, here's some sequins. I don't remember how many I end up with exactly, but you just want a nice variety of texture, design, size, even color, so you can start building an interesting collage on top of your florals. I have this like super straight, solid edge on this piece of lace, and so don't be afraid to alter the lace that you have. I'm going to go through with my scissors and just chop this piece off, and this will give me a more sort of like wild and free and organic piece of lace, which is what I am trying to go for with these wildflower journals. When you're sewing the lace onto the cover, try to follow the edge of the lace as much as possible with your sewing needle. The only exception would be when you come to like an edge like this along the edge of your journal, like where your spine is, then it's cool to just do like a straight line. But when you are sewing like in the middle of the cover, try to follow the edge and like all the different curves and edges and stuff like that of your lace, and this is gonna just help you create a seamless looking collage on your cover. Now you can see here as I follow this edge of the lace that I will be twisting and turning my cover back and forth so that the needle will follow along the edge of that lace. I pause, I lift the foot, I rotate the cover, and just get it as closely with the edge of that lace as you can. Again, a straight stitch on the edges is perfectly fine. When you get in the center, just kind of go up and down, move your thing back and forth, and follow the edge of that lace. You can see here I left this top bit loose, and this is in case I want to tuck something underneath that lace right there. Now we're just going to continue filling in spaces and covering straight lines with our various laces. So looking at this spot right here on my journal, you can see where there are like 4 or 5 different elements that meet, but they don't really blend in very well together. So I'm gonna grab one of my favorite trims, I'm gonna cut a flower out, and it's gonna fit right over the top of that, like pretty much perfectly, and it's just gonna help smooth out that area and make it kind of less obvious that it's just like a bunch of stuff kind of mishmashed together. Again, I'm going to be following along the edge of this flower as closely as possible. I'm not just sewing like a big circle around it. I want to follow the edge as closely as possible to give it a seamless look. This video is ending up to be pretty long, so what I'm going to do now is just kind of speed it up a little bit, put you to some music. I'm not going to go too fast so you can still get a sense of what I'm doing. And if I see something that I feel like needs explaining, more than what I've already said, then I'm just going to go ahead and stop and get back on here with the voiceover. But I think that pretty much everything that's important to me to say about these, I believe I've said. But if I miss anything, I'll be back with some words. Alright, and that is it for my wildflower cover process tutorial video. I hope you guys like these. If you make something like this, I would really love to see it. If you can pop over to groups and share a photo, or if you share on Instagram, please tag me, because I would love to see what you guys can all come up with. Like I said before, you do not have to use florals. You can use any sort of pattern. You can even do this with solids or, whatever you want, whatever draws your attention. Happy crafting.